Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is the first access denied of 2022. We are in this building, whether it's rain, sleet, or snow. It look like a storm is arising, but right now, we're going to kick this thing off right. Students have started to go back to school. We took a little break during December, but we are refreshed, relaxed, but ready for action. How are you doing, Sonya?
Yo, what's up? Thank you for the good energy starting off.
Mhm.
Like, Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. So, last year was such a beautiful year. It was a lot of just sweat equity, hard work, but good laughs after hard battles. And we wanted to just take a little moment and just reflect with some of the things that are just things that came with good battles, but had really good success. We had our parent summit back in March, which had over 100 parents. But before that, during Black History Month, we had our speaker series where the superintendent came on. But more importantly, we did Disrupt and Dismantle, which for us, which we were proud of, it wasn't about being on TV, but it was really about bringing attention to the disparities that are going on in Nashville, Tennessee, but realizing that these are the same disparities that are going on across the country for Black, brown, and poor communities. Really a good moment. We had op-eds not only from Sonya, but from our parents and from our staff, really being able to highlight and talk about in the newspaper issues that they care about and being able to speak their mind and give public comment. Some of the rougher, tough things that I remember is the school board protests. Whether you had Sasha Holt or others coming up to the school board, Ms. Zerker, and demanding not only to have a conversation because they had been left out, but making sure they sit down and not only have it but lead the conversation and dealing with the issues that were important to them. And what I loved about that, Sonya, it was an opportunity really for us just to take a step back and support the parents, but also make sure that they were receiving the things that they deserved, not only for their kids, but for the community. And then, one of my last events, we did a community event at the Boys and Girls Club in Andrew Jackson. And what warmed my heart, and I don't know if you remember, Sonya, but it was a little girl who just came right in, looked at you, and she hugged you. And I was just like, see, I was like, oh, you know her? He was like, no, like she just came up and hugged me. And it's like, those are the things that make us proud, not just the things that we do in war, but the times we do in peace for the community or bringing the community together.
Oh yeah, John. I mean, just to piggyback off of the parents, you know, um, I think we were talking about this yesterday. Like some of my happiest moments is when we put parents in a position where they use the power that they already have.
Mm-hmm.
And those are some of my proudest moments of, just kind of sitting back and really showing people some movement. It's not about me and it's not about you and it's not about, a single person, but it's about, all of us. And those are my proudest moments. And that is what I get up and get up and do every morning. The reason why I do this work is because I never want another parent to feel the way that I felt when I found out that my son was not receiving a quality education. And, that's my why. I never want them to feel that way. And I want them to be able to fight for their children. And yes, I remember that Thanksgiving dinner over at Andrew Jackson. And not only was she, but it was just the space that director, what's her name, John? I can't remember her name.
I know I can't remember, but she runs a tight ship.
Yes, but just a space and the love that she's creating over there. I actually met one of their board members at an event that was hosted by the Nashville Public Education Foundation. And I met one of their board members, and I was just talking about that. And he went on to tell me that he's a board member. And I was like, dude, like you got a gold mine over there with a young lady who's directing over there, but not just directing, she's building love and families, and she's building the community over there. So yeah, those are some beautiful highlights. And of course, working with Soledad, working with our parents, to be able to have that national voice, it was all eyes on North Nashville. And I was born and raised in North Nashville, and um, you know, have been raised in those inequities, have seen those inequities, have seen how those inequities have affected even my family members, my bloodline. So really, like, sounding the alarm is what I always say on issues such as that.
Hmm. Yeah, so quite a year, and let us know. Check in with us. Let us know how your new year came in, and just what are some of the things that you really remember from 2021 that made you proud. But also, let us know the things that you want to see happen in 2022 when it comes to public education here in Nashville, Davidson County, because that's what it's about. I see a couple of people checking in. I see Ivory coming in to say good morning. Good morning, Ivory. She was one of our parents who were highlighted, but also she was able to write an op-ed that appeared in the paper. Her son started school. I want to say the pre-K program, and so just watching her grow now that she had a son actually in the school system was great. Caitlin, I don't know who Caitlin is, but Caitlin, thank you for jumping on here, for being our number 2 public commenter for this first point. We got Mr. Driver, who's our organizer. We got Miss Johnson, who was strong with us last year and commenting. Rhea, who just is a social media extraordinaire, helped grow our Twitter page, our Facebook. Rhea, the rain. And then we got Torvis, who's also our organizer, and he kicking it off with tagging his people that he's worked with. I see Miss Nicole. Nicole is a force to be reckoned with. She was able to go through our fellowship last year. Thank you for jumping on, Nicole. Look forward to the great things that we got going on. Superwoman Victoria Gordon, who has traveled around the country, but also put the muscle in right here in Nashville at the board, op-eds, interviews, you name it. But she has a story to tell in Unrelenting. Miss Moffin, who is our new friend from 2021, who was able to go through the fellowship. Thank you for jumping on here and getting this thing started. And parents, if you are checking in with us the first time, Access Denied is an opportunity for parents and by parents to talk about the issues that surround public education, things that are going on now that are district wide, but also we listen real closely for things that are going on internally for you guys at a school, because if we hear something that's going on in North Nashville and Antioch and West Nashville, those are things that we want to look at as Nashville Propel. And so thank you guys for jumping on here. Listen in, tune in, tell us, hey, say what's up. I see Danielle checking in, like, let us know you're here, and feel free to comment at any time.
Yes. We missed you guys. We took our winter break. All superheroes need a little break too.
Amen.
So we had to take a little winter break to spend some time and investing in our health and in our families. But we right back at it, and we missed it. I missed it every day. And you just don't know what I had to do to myself to keep myself from working and trying to stay focused on other things. But it's just not a work for me when you get up every day and do the thing that you love. Everybody's like, you're a workaholic. And I'm like, but it's not a work to me. It's my life. So
yes,
we missed every last one of you guys. Thank you for joining the weekly update yesterday. It just gave me so much energy. I mean, not yesterday, Monday.
We know what you mean.
My days mixed up. On Monday, I was just filled with joy just to see people coming back in and building this movement and understanding that it's time to get back to work, John.
It is time to get back to work. And let us know if you're on here how your new year is. I see people telling us Happy New Year, but let us know what you want to be true for the new year. Like, people, for me personally, I appreciate people who just speak life and talk about what they're going to do, even if they don't do it, even if they go to the gym once on the first day. I just appreciate you taking that foot forward, and you always got a chance to do it again. But let us know, like, any goals, anything that you want to see with your child's education, or just personal goals, like, let us know. Like, let's speak life.
Yeah, I saw this meme, John, the other day where somebody said, like, it was January 1st, and they said they messed up and they're going to try again next year. But you know what? That's the thing that I think I want to encourage people under the sound of our voice to understand, that in this life, we can start over every day. So if you do have a New Year's resolution or some goals, the thing is you can reset every day. Don't
Every day.
don't be talking about I'm gonna do it next year. Reset your goals, reset yourself. Because I know a lot of people get disappointed in themselves, right? And they feel like failures. When they get off track, and just think of it like that. I'm just off track today and I'm gonna get back on track. But I thought that was so funny.
Hey, at least they named it. At least they say
But
they
they
said
say
they
they're
ain't
gonna
give us.
start over next year.
They just gonna start over next year. Hey, it's all right.
Mine is
So
always Monday. I'm gonna start my diet again on Monday.
that's all we can hope for. But some of the things we want to talk about, Sonya, it's a few articles that have come out that we definitely want to discuss and get people's opinion on. Black people and men on how they score lower on the evaluation scores. We want to get real deep because there have been a lot of topics and comments on this Tennessee school funding formula. And we really want to get into that and some advocacy and some outreach that we want to do for that to make sure that our parents' voices are heard when we're talking about millions, maybe even billions of money for public education. We want to make sure parents like you guys are heard. And then one of the things I want to highlight, and I may find an article, but the National Public Education Fund is doing a new thing with teachers. And what I loved about it is a former guest who's a teacher who came on Access Denied. She's actually one of the people in the cohort. So just want to highlight that. And so let us know if there are other things we want to talk about. But I'll first start, Sonya, with this Tennessee school funding formula. If you can kind of break that down and I'll follow behind you, kind of what's going on for people who don't know. And then where are we at on this process? And then I'll come through with some of the outreach.
Okay, so I'm gonna take you back historically, guys. I think some of you guys may have a brain like mine, where you got to work yourself backwards to come forward. So let me tell you a little bit about this formula. This formula was created by the state of Tennessee. I want to say around 2016, 2015, John.
Mm-hmm.
And the formula was a student-based formula that was created. That it was the goal was to create equity across the state. So your smaller counties and your metro counties, created that equity in funding from the state. But what history has also told us is that Tennessee, along with Texas and a couple of other states, not only did they have inequities, in their own state, but are some of the most inequitable state funders as far as education across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a point we got to talk about. Not only do we see inequities right here in our state, but in comparison to other states across the country, we rank in the top 5 of states that are just doing horribly at that, at funding the schools. And so right now, there is a lawsuit that was brought up by I think it's Shelby County in Metro. That's an ongoing lawsuit about the formula, which is also kind of propelled the conversation around changing that formula in the state legislature. So our state, our commissioner, our governor, they're actually doing these town halls in which we participated in and co-hosted the very first one in October to get feedback from parents and stakeholders in education around how to change this formula, what we would like for it to look like. I think at this point, nobody knows what that formula is going to look like. And what I want to impress upon parents is this. You can have programs, you can have formulas, you can have all those things, but if you don't know what outcome you want to have, it doesn't matter. And so what we've heard across the state from our parents and the parents in Memphis, and I want to start right there, sending prayers out to Sarah Carpenter. our friend, our colleague, I love, she had surgery yesterday. So when I stop at Memphis, I'm gonna say right to Memphis, I
Mm-hmm.
want to send our prayers to her. But when you have, what they heard across this state was that parents want to make sure that the funding goes directly to their child. And they want to make sure that they have choices for their children, and that their children are not stuck in a situation, because you have to ask your question, is it always about money? No, there's
Right.
also a lack of quality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, parents want to get what they pay for, what the
Mm-hmm.
money is supposed to be getting them for their child. That was a loud voice across the state of Tennessee, that parents want to make sure that their children have the funding go directly to them. They have
Yeah.
great outcomes and they have choices.
Yeah, and I think, Sonya, when you talk to parents and you hear from people in the community, they jump in too. Yeah, we need more money, because you know what? They don't realize how much money is coming through. And I think the tune that we're trying to change, and hopefully this does it, and I'll pull up the article, is not just about more money. It's like, an impoverished nation that the U.S. government may send $1 billion to each year, and the country always remains poor, but the leadership is just filthy rich. And I use the word filthy intentionally. And
Stanky rich.
Stanky rich. And so when we think about that, like, we got to realize, like, parents, no parent has ever told me that they know that our budget for MMPS Metro schools is $1 billion. Like, they devalue it. They say 200,000. They say, man, I'm gonna go with 50 million. Like, not knowing that they're nowhere close. And I think what we got to do it, and again, like, I'll pull this up, we got to make sure the money is coming from the state, going to the local education authority, going to the school, going to the classroom, and making sure it reaches the needs, right? Like, the individual and collective needs of your kids, my kids, and everybody kids. Like, the one size fits all model with the money just ain't working at all.
It's not. And it won't. I'm sorry. I'm calling Rhea because I think we got an imposter on our page. And I'm trying to, so go ahead and talk.
Yep. Yep. And I see Ms. Moppin saying preach, but let me do this. Let me pull up the article. Let's see. Boom. Chrome tab. And then we'll just read a little bit of this to go through. Let me take this down.
I'm sorry, John. I think we had a little somebody trying to hack our page or something. So,
and they want to start with us in 2022.
You know what? Watching us. Don't come over here playing.
Right. But it says the current funding formula, and it's from the Tennessee and the Basic Education Program. So we always call it BEP, but it divides state funding up among local school districts based on their local fiscal capacity, which is another word for how many students does a school have, how much money comes in as a tax base to actually pay for operations. Well, they say it through local property tax or sales tax revenue. Some counties have implemented wheel taxes, other revenues to help fund education. But Henson says he hopes the state will account for additional needs a county may have. We hope that they're not just looking solely at assessed property values and the local option sales tax, but what are the other additional needs that the county has? For example, from an urban county might have the needs that other local revenue may need to meet those needs. Again, that's coming from the school district. That's a lot of school talk. One of the things that we want to make sure that it looks at is really, what does that student really need? Are the students behind on reading? And so if they are behind on reading, what are the resources? What are the supports that they need? Because gone are the days, it should be gone, when a kid graduates high school and not reading on grade level. And so when you hear from us, like, we want to think about students as a whole. And what are they thriving in? What are some of the things that are included within Nashville that they need to be focusing on because it's an industry that's coming? But what are some of the deficits? And when we think about school funding, like, we got to think about the kids.
Yeah. And we got to think about the parent voice, because in that article, you had one of the very gatekeepers of funding, Chris Henson, who is I don't know, comptroller or
Mm-hmm.
something in the district who is not very transparent
Mm-hmm.
about the budget and the spending. And so, I want to impress upon people that we have to fight to have a parent voice. I didn't see the parent voice in there. I saw one of the gatekeepers who
Mm-hmm.
who is actually um, commenting and getting their voice out there, and that worries me that our voice is not being included in that conversation, that very article itself. You have people who are protecting the system who are not being very transparent with the funding that we have now. I mean, it's like pulling teeth to get a question answered from him about the budget.
Right.
And so I worry about that.
Yeah, even me reading the article, it started to go in a circle. And so one of the things that we'll look at as you look at this, it says Legal and Education Commissioner Penny Swin launched a 90-day review of the BEP in October with the goal of creating a new student-centered funding formula for possible presentation to lawmakers this winter. At least 39 states already use a student-based or similar hybrid funding formula, but more than 30-year-old BEP is based on resource allocation instead. And so it's 50 states. Out of 50 states, it's 39. So we're looking at 11 states, which Tennessee, unfortunately, is one of the 11 that doesn't look at student-based funding. And so this picture right here on the Tennessean was our parents at a town hall. I believe, yep, this is Sonia speaking to and making sure the parent voice is heard. I want to say we had a whole group of parents who came from all over Nashville, drove up to Sumner County because we just realized it's important not only to be at the table, but help drive the decision. And it just says as community members in Sumner County. And so the last part that I'll read, it says a student-centered formula would assign a base weight or amount of funding per student and adjust it accordingly based on the student weights, which again, breaking that word down, weights, meaning what are the things that the kid needs? What are they looking at to identify how much money that each student receives? And so they use the word in quotation weights. It could include students with disabilities. Schools sometimes spend more money to provide services, or economically disadvantaged students who may also have more needs. And so far, according to public comment, many are in favor of the state considering alternative weights for economically disadvantaged students and students from areas with high concentration of poverty, students with disability, English language learners, students in rural areas, or areas that are fast growing, and for students enrolled in charter schools. And so this is what they're looking at. One of the things that we're doing, and saying before I go into that, like any feedback from there, just what you have noticed, whether it's been around the committee or just thinking through it through the break.
Yeah, I mean, also the state has got to put up or shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain it a little bit. So, John, you got to hold up your glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
And that glass of water, it only has a certain amount in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say that's the pot of money. Okay? That's the money. And then your hand is the formula,
Mm-hmm.
right? That disperse that money.
Yep.
If you don't have enough in that glass, if you don't have enough money, physical money, and you have your hand, which is the formula that divvies it out, then we're still not going to have enough.
Yep.
So the state is going to have to put up a shutter. They have to put more money into that glass so that money, even when you put a formula to it, that formula disperses that money. And so that's what they've got to figure out. How is that funding going to be dispersed? And as a Tennessean wrote about that, they actually pointed out the ways that parents want students with disabilities, IEPs, disadvantaged students that go to charter schools. They want to make sure that that money in that glass, John, hold that glass up again. Individuals, sometimes the money in that glass, in that hand that dispersed that, or that formula that dispersed that money, that there's enough money in the glass. So that's another thing that has to be well thought out of.
Yeah, and go through real quick, Sonia, just talk about this is something that we discuss just a lot. Like, talk about like it's not just about the money. And I'll tell you, I see Robert on here. He's saying amen. And Robert did something really creative with bringing the pie and talking about the pie, which I thought was genius and awesome. But this is what we know: Nashville is booming, right? Nashville has a lot of
Oh,
money, right? A whole lot of money,
a shitload of money.
a shit ton of money, right? Do, does North Nashville, does communities of color see that money?
No, they typically do not. We've got to also realize that a lot of this is still built, this foundationally built in racism. We've got to get rid of the the um, the racism, the have and the have nots culture. I heard our mayor say that we have a good culture here in Nashville. I think it was during New Year's when they were doing the celebration downtown, and he talked about how good the culture is, and it's good for him. But it is not. I laid in my bed and I said, "Damn lie, culture's not good in Nashville. It is for those who have, but for those of us who don't have, it's not." And we've got to. It's not just about money because we have money. We have a budget of $1 billion, a little bit over that for our school system, and we still have people saying it's not enough, right? And so I've asked the question of, okay, how much more money? And so people are just going to keep on saying 2, 3, 4, 5 billion, and and it's about results.
Mm-hmm.
It's about outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about programs. Those are like stopgap solutions. It's about implementation and leadership and being able to push things forward. It's a whole lot more than just money because you can have money and still be broke.
It's the same people who win the lottery and win a lot of money. They are the fastest ones who lose it and they're back in the same situation because there's no guidance, there's no real structure. It's like, here go the money. And they get the money, and what do? They don't know what to do. They just buy the things that they know instead of investing it, putting it into a trust, letting it collect interest, helping letting your money make you more money. But Robert Taylor says fill up the cup, right? So we got parents on the call. So this is Davidson County, right? This whole cup. This is North Nashville. This is Black Nashville. These are people who are poor, who are economically disadvantaged. I'm not going to even say this is the state. This is wealthy white Nashville, right? And so what they'll do, they might pour it in, right? They might give us a little something, and then they'll just push it back. Like what we want is to say, give us our fair share. We have schools in this city that the reading level is at 12% as a whole. So 100 students. And so when you talk about pouring more money in, does that mean it goes from 12 to 20? Does that mean they create a real plan to make sure like 12 is criminal? They say we got enough money. Like if we see 12%, like we about to do something, right? Because if I pay 12% of my electric bill, you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna cut it off. They're gonna say, look, that ain't enough.
I mean, but you said 12. I was sitting here over thinking about the 7%. With 93% of the children not reading in a school. And you said 12. Shoot, I'm over here. What about the 7? Like it is outright criminal.
It's criminal.
Yeah, it's outright criminal. And I mean, we have to talk about that a little bit. We have to talk about system protectors.
Mm-hmm.
And I started talking about that years ago. Like these are system protectors. Well, what do you mean by system protectors, Sonia? What I mean by that is people who like Chris Henson. Yeah, I'm gonna call him out. I don't care. Who know that things are not right and not transparent, and basically know that they can get away with it.
Mm-hmm. And again, like and Rob, thank you for referencing that because it really goes to the point, and that's why we started Propel. So Robert Taylor as an individual, like you are strong, like your kids are well taken of. Sonya, like I've listened to Sonya. Sonya knows what the hell she doing. Like I've seen other parents on here, Miss Moffin. Like Miss Moffin ain't playing no games about her kid, but you know what happens? When it's just you, the villains gang up on you. And so when you got a board of 9 or you got a community of a million, like those one or two voices, like that's why it has to be collective, because there are people who sit in rooms who say, it's always been this way. I'm making money. My family is good. Well, why we need to change something? Those people need to what? They need to stop being lazy. And that's how they'll get better. Like they need to get up, they need to work like I worked and get it. And no, like that's the attack of an enemy. Like it's gonna always want it to stay down. I look at Clarksville Highway. Clarksville Highway has been, man, run down for years. It started as the Black Mecca, and decade after decade, it's went down. Right. I was riding through there during the break. I was like, man, they finally widening the bridge. Like, what's going on? So I'm asking. They're like, oh, like new people are starting to move in. You know what that's code for? Like it's gentrification, and they gotta they gotta build the infrastructure to build the new people in. Somebody told me they seen a proposal signing to put a Target in South Nashville by Napier. You know what that means?
You know what I always say: watch where your bike lanes are being.
Why?
Yeah.
Everybody laughed 5 years ago when they
they let people laugh at me. People laugh. I kept on saying, oh, watch where the bike lane's going, because I started noticing stuff. I noticed all kinds of stuff. I started noticing stuff. Even in my neighborhood, some bike lanes are coming. They doing some stuff. I already know what's about to happen. And it's just going back to. I think we're going back to culture too, and system protecting. Like, when I think about the last school board meeting. Y'all thought I wasn't going to say nothing. The last school board meeting where the public comment was moved to the end of the school board meeting. I don't think I had a lot of problem with that. That wasn't a problem for me. But to see school board members say things like, we only did what the parents asked us to do, but you did not communicate it effectively. See, let me tell you something about leadership. Let me tell y'all something about leadership. Let me tell people on the school board and those who are in leadership what real leadership is. Leadership is taking accountability. Leadership is not I told you so. Leadership is, what do we do better?
What do we do better?
Leadership is never, I'm doing what you said. Leadership is never pointing of fingers. So I have no respect for the leadership. Earn my respect. I know what real leadership is. And so, culturally, not only do we have to have the funding, but we got to have some real leadership.
Yes.
Some real leadership. Folks thought I wasn't going to say nothing, but I said something. I did.
Yeah.
And I'm talking direct. That's how you speak truth to power. See, these people, the people who are in power, who control stuff or think they do, you got to speak truth to that.
You got to it. And I heard that same comment. And for me, it's going back to what you said. It's like you make a decision for the community. You're thinking it's in the best interest, but you never gave them the directions. It's like, we had this place, this parent center in Bellevue. We moved it to North Nashville to be closer. But if you never told them they moved it to North Nashville, they still going to Bellevue. And they like, where is it at? They like, you told us you wanted it in North Nashville.
Yes.
How are we supposed to know? So now we don't wasted time planning because you didn't communicate it out. But they said it was on the agenda though, which it was. But
the agenda is always a hot damn mess. It has no structure. It has no substance. Now I'm fussing. It has no substance. It is unprofessional. It has no details, and it's like a kindergartner did it. So who looks at it? Run tell that. Who looks at it? Because it never has anything on it. It never gives you any details. And I don't care if you did do it within the 5 days. Give me something to look at.
Yeah.
And how many people even knew? A lot of people don't know that those agendas out there. And you know what? I'm not gonna blame a parent, white or black, fluent or affluent or poor, because they're upset about that. They are a parent. This school system belongs to the parents and the children.
Mhm.
It don't belong to no. It don't belong to the chairperson. It does not belong to Dr. Battle. It does not belong to all 9 of those school board members.
Mhm.
It belongs to parents. And
Amen.
it needs to be accommodated and communicated. There is poor communication, and in leaderships takes responsibility for that. That's what you signed up for.
That's what you hear. I mean, communication. It goes back to the Chick-fil-A versus the McDonald's. Like, you have someone who appreciates you at Chick-fil-A. You have someone who is just there to take your order at McDonald's. At most times, I done had some good McDonald's people, but overall, like, Chick-fil-A is about 9 out of 10 on customer service. McDonald's for me may be 2 out of 10. Maybe it's just the McDonald's I'm going to. That's why I just had to stop. Maybe I wasn't getting the right one.
But what does McDonald's always do? What do? Come on, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
What do great like establishments and businesses like Chick-fil-A, they got immaculate like customer service, right? Like
long line.
They demand excellence. They have nailed it. What is one thing that they do to ensure that they're doing that? They ask.
Mm-hmm.
They ask about their service. Anybody in leadership, anybody that owns a business that's successful, owns an organization, whether it's for-profit, nonprofit, they ask the people that they serve, they ask their customers. We are, in a sense, a customer and an owner of this school district. And so our voice truly matters. And so for me, in that situation, we can move off of that. The leader in me would have said, what could I do better?
Yeah. But you can use that, Sonia, just not only for the broad, but as we think about school, like, that's one thing we heard from parents, like, school communication can be a whole lot better. And so it's not just in that situation, it's overall. Yeah, Rob says they give customers what they ask for.
That's
Burger
right.
King don't went away. Burger King, you say, have it your way. Like, I used to go to Burger King to have it my way.
But I got a question. Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you don't get good customer service? What you do?
Mm-hmm. You leave, you don't come back again.
Come on now.
They get your last dollar.
Come on
You're
now.
your last student.
Come on now.
And so that student behind him, he's like, nah, this ain't about to work.
Right. So keep on giving bad customer service. What they gonna do?
They're gonna go somewhere else.
Okay.
They're gonna go somewhere else. And so, guys, this is what we want to do. Like, and it's about the action as we think about student formula funding, right? This is something in the article, it says the BEP has been around for 30 years, right? And so in one of our classes, when we do the fellowship, we actually model this. We give parents an opportunity to advocate from 2 different communities that look totally different, and we give them a chance to advocate to decision makers. And as we saw this come out and we thought about 30 years, like, this is our opportunity to make sure this is not a skit. This is something that's actually real, and real voices have to be at the table. So one point in the next minute or two, you're going to see a link that's going to pop up in the comments. And I see a lot of people on here. I see Jordan coming in, talking about communicating, don't go back. We got Kendall, we got Victoria, we got Joyce, we got Caitlin. We got a lot of parents on here. Nicole, I want you guys to click this link and let them know about, so we'll put the article in here, but we want you to click this link and put your information in and talk about what you want to really see as a parent or a grandparent in this new student funding formula. Is it just about the money? Is it about doing business as usual? If you had your magic wand, if you had your magic crystal ball, like, talk about the things that you want to see as a parent, as a community member, not just for your kids, but for kids all across the city.
And across the state.
And across the state.
The state formula. Victoria, I done got tickled. She said, have a Chick-fil-A attitude all 2022.
Man,
Man, that's a tickle the crap out of me. That is funny, but it's true.
It's true.
It is true. She said, have a Chick-fil-A attitude all 2022. Cool.
Some things is just it's easy.
Something, you know what? Now, this ain't rocket science.
Right.
This
And
ain't
Kendall,
rocket science.
yeah, Kendall, I'm gonna just replace a couple of words. She says, for me, when a school goes out their way to accommodate my son, he can go there and he can have more choices. And soon they'll see us and tell me what new things that are at the school for my son to learn. Much love for them.
Wow. That's a dream right there. That's a vision. That is a vision. That is a vision right there. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that comparison, because that is, that's something we teach. We teach our parents to dream, and you have a right to dream and say what you want for your child. And for far too long, we as Black people, we as Black parents have done what everybody tell us to do. Bring them to school at this time. Do this with them. Put this on them. Do that.
Read to them for 30 minutes a day.
Read to them for 30 minutes. And it's time out.
Yeah.
Time out.
So this is the link, guys. Take a chance and click this link. So what we've seen, there are a lot of comments. So we did our town halls. Again, we drove all the way up to Sumner County. We had a group, a little bit over 30 parents show up. They even took pictures afterwards just to show like we appreciated them. But again, those comments were not put in. They took a lot of the online comments from when they did the live thread from Facebook and the Twitter and the YouTube, but they didn't show up the actual comments that were given at the town hall. And so this is our opportunity to make sure that your voice is heard and parents across the state get a chance to have advocates, because right now you have a chance to advocate not only for your children, but for children across the state. To go through and take this. It takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes. I did mine and put my comments in yesterday. So it took me about 2 to 3 minutes, unless you want to go super duper long.
But I want them to end it with something.
Okay.
You put your comment in, because it's really going to be, I want you to hashtag Nashville Propel. Let them know where you're coming from.
Oh.
My name is Sonia Thomas, and I am a Nashville Propel powerful parent leader. Show up with power. Let them know where you're coming from.
And that's how they're going to realize.
Formally introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm. And again, guys, I'll say those things matter, because even when I was looking at the article, I didn't know our picture was going to show up. But when we went there with parents, Nashville Propel parents were not there just to sit and listen. Propel parents came to make a statement on how they feel and speak up, and that's what it's about. And I'll show a couple more. Caitlin says, as we go back, that's why I chose charter for my son. That was the last dollar MNPS was going to get. Jordan says, this is why I choose charter and academic magnet, because you can surely see and tell the difference in education, which is
really let me explain that to them now.
Oh yeah, bro.
The charter school that you send your child to is an MNPS school. The difference is operators. The charter schools are operate. The leadership is different. The leadership is different. The money comes from the same place. Charters don't get more money. Like, this is the thing. If I have this phone is a child. Okay. Let's just say my phone is a child, right? I got my phone. It's a child. And this is a school. Okay. And John, you put up something. John, his hand is
got my cup.
The money. So this is my child. This is a school. That's the money. If my child doesn't go to this school, this is my child, then they don't, John, take away your water.
Mm-hmm.
Why should they get that money? What happens is, whatever school, whether they go to Univesta, whether they go to Purpose Prep, the money goes with the child. That's all that means. That's all that means. It doesn't mean and what the district and people who want to save public education, I don't know what the hell they want to save.
Right.
What they're saying is, if we don't teach your child anything, we still should get the money.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go to the store and I get some eggs, I have to pay for those eggs, right? You got to give me my eggs because I done paid for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're saying. You don't just get my money and you don't give me no eggs.
And if one of the eggs broken, I'm gonna put that and I'm gonna get me another egg just so I can get my full value, my dozen. I ain't taking the left.
And so with charter schools, a charter school just has a different operator. Mm-hmm. They all get the money from the state and from the city. Mm-hmm. It's coming from the same bank, same pot. But what happens is the MNPS leadership, they don't get the money in their bank account. Mm-hmm. That money goes to the charter school. Mm-hmm. And then the money that goes in the MNPS bank account, they get to decide what money goes to transportation, to their personnel,
and they have a form.
To their, to the schools that they operate. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the damn problem.
Mm-hmm. But check this out. Like, this is what I can appreciate about Jordan. She says she has one kid at a charter and one kid at an academic magnet. And I would tell you the academic magnet is operating within MNPS, but they operate differently. It's a different culture. And so this is what people realize when people say save public education, and Sonia says, I don't know what we're saving. Save our kids. And so whatever school is going to work for them, it can be charter, it can be traditional, it can be academic magnet, it can be private. We got to save our children. And that's what we saving. If we ain't got no children, like, how are we going to even do education? So I'm saying save our children. And so you go wherever you need to go.
Go wherever you need to go. I've had children in private, traditional public, charter public, magnet school. You have to send your child where it's going to help them to succeed. You have to do that. You should have the choice to do that. There are so many children who are brilliant who don't get the opportunity to go to a public magnet school. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so what are they supposed to do? What are their parents supposed to do? Mm-hmm. And don't get me started on the school models, John. Don't get me started on that, because I got a lot to say about that. But don't get me started on the real heist.
It can be a hot mess.
Yeah, don't get me started on the real heist of what really is happening in schools.
A heist. A high-powered, a heist, and the difference in a heist and a robbery. What's the difference in your opinion?
A robbery and a heist. Let me see. About the same. I think that a heist is more calculated.
Yep. A lot of times it's a lot more money.
It's a lot more money. It's more systematic. Mm-hmm. A robbery is like one person robbing something. A heist is a whole system mm-hmm. that's robbing the children. That's corrupt is the word that I want to put in there. It's corrupt. Mm-hmm. And I think that public education is the biggest heist in our country. Mm-hmm. I think it's funding something even from the federal level that is never going to work.
Yep. I mean, Sylvia just said it, Miss Perrin. It says structure and execution of the plan.
Heist. Oh, so I got it right.
Yep. Come on now.
It's the biggest heist I've ever seen.
The timing and plan that goes into a heist.
Yes. The manipulation that goes into it. And the way that they say that they're going to do something and never have to do it.
Let me tell you how big this is. So I read a report that says the state of Tennessee owes Tennessee State University $500 million, right? That's just on the cash value. That's not interest.
Dude, that's a heist.
Right. That's a heist. But think about just Nashville as a whole is one school district out of 95 counties, and the budget each year is $1 billion. Each year, there's somebody, and I could be wrong, Sonya, but there's somebody that says, I got them again. And every year that billion comes in, it starts to go down, and as it gets, they just start picking from it.
Man, there's an article that came out today. It's Main Street wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, our view, it's time for MNPS to call game over, undergo audit of federal COVID relief. And what it's talking about is that whole COVID testing, that contract they had with Meharry and a company. One of the contractors, they were paid all this money from the school district to do these COVID testing and tracking. Mm-hmm. And the guy bought him a Ferrari with the money. And we really didn't get what we banked for. There's no evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a heist.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I read that Tennessean came out, I think, the Beacon Center came out with a pork report. And so they looked at, when you look at the no bid contracts locally and on the state, there were some contracts for close to $1 billion. The TANF funds for the city that was supposed to go to poor and needy families was close to $1 billion. And so you also see those smoke screens like the Beacon Center coming out with a report, but I'm like, $1 billion, like 800 million here, 500 million there. Like that's what I mean. Like that's the real heist. And so COVID comes around once every 100 years, like the 100-year flood. But we have seen as parents and grandparents year after year how we misuse funds. Like I watch contracts come through the district. And again, we talk about that, but it's 20 million here, 10 million there, 3 million here. And these are contracts. This is what we call a consent agenda. I don't want to get deep into it, but the consent agenda says we ain't going to really discuss it. You just going to say yay or nay. And one time I said, I'm pulling everything from the consent agenda. And so last year we had a conversation about like those contracts that come through meeting after meeting, not just 2 meetings a year. Every meeting we do contracts. And that's what we really got to jump in on. Like if we're going to jump in, we got to look at the whole thing and realize like we got a serious problem. In the state, I watched some back when I was an intern, one of the senators taking hundreds of dollars and just stuffing it in his pocket because he was being paid off. They had him on camera in a belt. The camera was in the belt. They brought him the money. He took it out. He was stuffing it in his pants. I said, this dude is crazy. But Sonya, that's not a one-off.
No, man. Like, hey, it's not a one-off, man. Heist. Public education. I said it on Twitter. I've been saying it for months. Haven't I? Mm-hmm. Public education is the biggest heist I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And I don't care who get mad when I say it. It is the biggest rip-off heist I ever seen in my life. Children going to school 12 and 13 years and can't read. That's a heist. The school got money for them.
Right. And again, the reason we focus really on education, it could be a lot of issues. We can talk about affordable housing. We can talk about, the school to prison pipeline, but it's rooted in the American system. It's rooted in education. Kids who come from a good education, who get a good education, are less likely to be caught up in other systems because it's a heist in criminal justice. Like people know how to give you a couple of small crimes, and that way the sentencing guidelines, but I'm not going to get into this, but it's a lot of heist going around. But I think for me, the reason I focus on public education, because those are ways that we can eradicate it based on how the system works. And that's why education is so important.
The American way The American way is the biggest tragedy that has ever that our people have ever experienced.
Mm-hmm.
The American way is the way that is causing all of these inequities and all of these illiteracies and
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. Um, and yeah, I was born and raised in America, and I say that to say that because we know that it's not right, we need to fight against it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like um, it doesn't make you un-American to
Mm-hmm.
fight against the system that that is causing so many problems with racism, inequities, illiteracy, all of those things. And so, if I saw something where somebody wrote that it's un-American um, to fight against this stuff, and that kind of quenched my spirit a little bit. Like, what do you mean? The American way is what's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said it to say it. We got to speak truth to power.
Amen.
We got to build a movement. And this is an opportunity with this email campaign for you guys to have your voices heard. And so make sure that you submit your email. We've made it easy for you to do. And don't forget to hashtag Nashville Propel at the
Amen.
end of your statement.
And shout out to the parents who have jumped in and did it. Shout out to Caitlin. Shout out to Miss Rutherford. I want to say she was cohort 3. Shout out to Rhea. Shout out to Victoria, Miss Moppin. Parents are just jumping on. Shout out to Lita, who's still just doing things in the community. Jordan, who has just been a strong supporter. Like, this is the only way we can do this work if we do it together. So for the first access denied in 2022, like my energy is up. My heart is full. I don't want to say my fists are ready, but a good fight for the people is always a good fight. And so stay tuned.
I'm ready to kick ass and take
Come
names.
on now. All right, guys, we will see you soon. We will see you next Wednesday. Again, we'll continue to do this. Remember, fill out if you filled it out and you know other people who would benefit from filling the link out, let us know. Also, as always, our weekly updates on Monday that we do every Monday at 11 a.m. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye, y'all. Love you.